Hello brothers and welcome to Sigma Old Man channel. The quiet ones aren't harmless. They're just calculating the cost of unleashing hell. Let that simmer. Because here's the thing. Sigma males aren't walking around with swords drawn. They're walking around with swords sheathed, and that should terrify you more. They're the rare breed of men who will hold the door open for you, protect you in silence and never ask for applause, but touch the wrong nerve. Disrespect their loyalty, test their patience, betray their trust, and suddenly you're not in a conversation anymore. You're in a storm you started but can't survive. And get this, according to behavioral psychology, people with high self-control often possess the deepest wells of emotion and the most potent forms of aggression when triggered. Translation? The calmest guy in the room may just be the most dangerous. Not because he wants to fight, but because he's trained to finish what others can't even start. So why is it that Sigma males seem noble on the surface, but when pushed, fight like they were forged in chaos? Because you're about to understand why the noble heart and the warrior spirit can and do live in the same man. Stay tuned. Just don't touch anything you can't handle. Number one, they're hardwired to end things completely. Sigma males don't do lingering. They don't half-end things, leave windows open or hang around waiting for closure. When they're done, completely. It's not loud, not emotional, not a public scene. They just cut the cord and vanish like you never existed. To some that might seem cold, even ruthless, but to a Sigma it's a self-respecting necessity. If something becomes toxic, disrespects their values, or drains their energy, they don't negotiate with it. They eliminate it. Quietly, surgically, and without second-guessing. They've mastered the art of detachment because they've learned the hard way that dragging dead weight, be it a fake friend, a manipulative lover, or a draining situation, only slows them down. Sigma males aren't built to carry things that no longer serve their peace. And unlike others, they don't look back. There's no stalking your stories, no checking who texted last, no fishing for explanations. When they exit, they erase you from the emotional blueprint completely. You become a chapter they closed, not a story they revisit. It's not bitterness, it's discipline. They know how much energy it takes to rebuild themselves from chaos, so they don't tolerate anything that threatens to pull them back into it. They don't play tug-of-war with people who only show up when it's convenient. If you cross a line, they won't shout about it. They'll just make sure there's no way for you to cross back. And the silence that follows isn't awkward, it's final. This kind of emotional decisiveness throws a lot of people off. Most are used to drama, closure talks, begging, guilt trips, some kind of emotional mess to prove something mattered. But with a Sigma, the proof that it mattered is the fact that they endured it for as long as they did. The moment it becomes clear it's not worth the fight, they stop fighting. Not just for you, but for the connection itself. And here's the twist. While others see detachment as cruelty, Sigma males see it as protection. Not for you, for them. Because once they've given you access to their world and you misuse it, their only responsibility after that is to protect what's left. That means cutting ties completely. No warning, no softness. Just a clean break and they don't lose sleep over it. Number two, they're wired for justice, not vengeance, but justice can be savage. When a Sigma male acts, it's never to get even, it's to restore balance. He's not driven by revenge fantasies or ego bruises. What fuels him is principle, a code, and when that code is violated, he doesn't sit back and let it slide. He corrects it, no matter how uncomfortable, inconvenient, or explosive the outcome might be. He doesn't need you to feel what he felt. He needs the scales leveled, that's it. But here's what makes it brutal. His idea of fair isn't always warm and fuzzy. It's sharp, exact, and sometimes merciless. If you crossed a line, lied, manipulated, or disrespected him, he won't throw hands or shout from rooftops. He'll handle it in a way that leaves no mess behind, but you'll never forget the lesson. It might mean exposing you quietly. It might mean removing access, resources, or trust with such precision that you won't realize how deeply you've been shut out until your world starts collapsing without him in it. There's no theatrical vengeance here. Sigma males don't have the time or interest to be petty. But if the situation calls for justice, especially when someone's tried to play them for a fool, he won't hold back. Not because he enjoys watching someone fall, but because he refuses to let wrongdoing win unchecked. If someone burns the bridge, he'll let it burn. Then use the ashes to build a boundary so high you'll never get close again. And the scariest part? He won't even raise his voice. He'll do it all with calm, calculated moves that feel almost surgical. You won't even know you've been removed from his life until you try to come back and realize the door isn't just closed, it's gone. Justice to a Sigma male is about protecting his peace, honoring his values, and making sure people learn that actions have consequences. Not in a movie like Revenge Arc, but in a real, personal, no second chances kind of way. It's not about punishing you, it's about making sure it never happens again. And if you happen to get scorched in the process, that's just collateral damage for disrespecting the code. Number 3, they've buried versions of themselves you couldn't survive. Sigma males aren't peaceful because they're naturally calm. They're peaceful because they've earned it. They've seen the wreckage that comes from letting their darker instincts run wild, and they've buried those older, more volatile versions of themselves deep beneath the surface. Not because they were ashamed of them, but because they were too powerful, too destructive, and frankly, too much for most people to handle. When someone meets a Sigma, they often mistake his calm for softness. But what they don't realize is that the man in front of them is the end product of a long, brutal internal war. He didn't become composed overnight. He had to confront his anger, his pain, his intensity, and instead of letting it control him, he mastered it. Every joke he brushes off, every insult he doesn't respond to, every slight he quietly swallows, it's not because he doesn't feel it. It's because he knows what would happen if he let the old version of himself out to deal with it. People love to provoke calm men, thinking they're passive. But the Sigma male is the worst kind of person to push too far because he doesn't go off the rails. He shuts down the entire system. When he finally breaks, he doesn't yell, beg, or explain. He erases. He isolates. He withdraws completely. It's not rage, it's removal. Cold, clean, and final, like flipping a switch, and suddenly you don't exist in his world anymore. And here's the raw truth. Sigma males carry a controlled darkness that no one really wants to see unleashed. It's not about fists or threats. It's about what happens when a man with that much intelligence, discipline, and emotional control stops caring. That's the version they buried for a reason. Because if it ever had to come back, it wouldn't be a comeback. It would be a collapse for everyone else. So when he chooses silence, peace, or walking away, respect that. Because it's not weakness. It's him protecting you from the parts of himself he fought hard to bury. Parts that weren't meant for the world and wouldn't leave much standing if they ever returned. Number 4, their love is rare, their limits are ruthless. When a Sigma male loves, it's not casual, it's not halfway, it's intense, loyal, and quiet. But it runs deep. He won't flood your life with constant validation or perform affection for show. But when he chooses to love you, you become part of his protected circle, something sacred. He remembers your smallest details, anticipates your needs, defends you when you're not in the room, and stands by you even when you're a mess. But that depth, it comes with a razor-sharp edge, because while his love is rare, his limits are brutal. You only get one chance to mishandle that love. The moment you lie, manipulate, or disrespect the bond, he doesn't start an argument. He starts disappearing, not slowly, not dramatically, just gone. And what cuts deep is how effortless it feels. No guilt trip, no fight. He simply flips the internal switch that once had your name on it, and now it's blank. Cold, quiet, and irreversible. Most people aren't ready for that kind of cutoff. They think if you loved someone deeply, there has to be a back and forth, a meltdown, some closure. But not with a Sigma. If you betray that love, you don't just lose his presence, you lose your place in his story. You don't get demoted, you get deleted fully. You become someone he used to know, like a character that got written out of the plot with no farewell scene. And it messes with people because it's not what they expect. They're used to second chances, to people begging or trying to fix things. But Sigma males aren't running customer service on their emotions. They know what their love is worth, and they protect it like a vault. Once you've broken that trust, you don't get to negotiate your way back in. You become irrelevant, not as payback, but as policy. And here's the part that stings most. If you ever see him love again, someone else, you'll realize that what you lost wasn't just a person. It was an entire world of loyalty you'll never access again. Because once a Sigma male removes you from his life, there are no re-entries, just silence where your name used to be. Number 5, they're strategic with everything, even their pain. Sigma males don't parade their wounds. They don't sit around venting or fishing for sympathy. You could be standing right next to one while he's carrying years of disappointment, betrayal, heartbreak, and you wouldn't see a crack. That's because he treats pain the same way he treats everything else, with strategy. He doesn't let it define him. He uses it, files it away, stores it like fuel. Every setback, every scar, it's not just endured, it's absorbed, studied, and turned into data. While most people crumble or spiral under pressure, Sigma males quietly adapt. They don't ask, why me? They ask, what now? That emotional resilience isn't loud, it's lethal. You'd never guess how much he's been through because he moves like someone untouched. But the truth is, he's not untouched, he's unbreakable. And that's not because he hasn't suffered. It's because he knows how to suffer with purpose. But here's where it turns dangerous. If you're the one who adds to that pain, you don't get to watch the transformation. You get removed before the rebuild begins. Sigma males don't let the ones who hurt them stay around to see the glow up. They disappear, quietly cut you out. And when they rise again, stronger, smarter, colder, you're not in the frame, no updates, no proof of progress sent your way, just silence. That's how he works. He turns pain into discipline, into boundaries, into action. He might not lash out, he won't post cryptic quotes or call you out, but he'll turn the sting into structure. He'll use what hurt him to refine his focus and double down on his purpose. And by the time he's done healing, you'll barely recognize him, because the version of him you knew existed before he buried that chapter, and you with it. He doesn't self-destruct, he self-upgrades. And that's what makes him dangerous, not the pain he carries, but the way he weaponizes it into evolution, not with noise, but with results. And the one thing you can be sure of, if you're the reason he had to endure that transformation, you'll never be part of the version that comes next. Number 6, they see through disguises, but don't always call them out. Sigma males don't get fooled easily, not because they're paranoid, but because they've trained themselves to read between the lines. They notice the forced smiles, the inconsistent energy, the rehearsed charm. When someone's faking loyalty, pretending to care, or trying to manipulate, the Sigma picks up on it almost immediately. But here's the twist. He doesn't expose it right away. He lets it breathe, not out of mercy, but out of precision. He watches, he collects evidence, he listens more than he talks. While others fall for the act, he keeps a mental log. Not because he wants revenge, but because he wants clarity. See, Sigmas don't act off suspicion, they act off certainty. They wait until the illusion shows enough cracks to confirm it's a performance. Then, when they've seen all they need to see, they strike in a way that doesn't just call you out. It collapses everything fake around you. But they don't blow up your phone. They don't drag you into drama. They just start pulling away piece by piece. Access denied, energy gone, presence withdrawn, no public announcement, no final speech. One day you'll look around and realize they're gone and everything they gave you went with them. That's the dismantling, quiet, tactical, devastating. And what really messes with people is how effortless it seems. One day you're part of their world, the next you're invisible. You'll try to make sense of it, but they won't give you a chance. Because Sigmas don't burn bridges emotionally, they burn them strategically. And once they're done, even if you come crawling back, there's nothing to rebuild. The illusion you hid behind is gone. The mask slipped, and now you're just another name they've deleted from their reality. The truth is, Sigma males don't hate the fake ones, they just study them. They let you play your little role until the curtain drops. And when it does, they won't just walk out of your life. They'll take everything real with them and leave you sitting in the ruins of your own act. Number 7, they will never fight over attention, but they will fight over principle. Sigma males couldn't care less about being the center of attention. They don't chase validation, don't compete for spotlight, and won't beg for space in anyone's life. Not friends, not lovers, not even family. If someone overlooks them, they simply take a step back and keep it moving. You'll never catch them whining about being left out or trying to prove their worth. Their presence is a choice, not a plea. But here's where things get serious. If you twist facts, distort reality, or try to damage something sacred to them, like truth, innocence, or their personal code, that same man who looked unbothered just a second ago will shift into something unrecognizable. You'll awaken a side of him that doesn't argue, it dismantles. And the scary part? That wrath didn't come out of nowhere. It's been there, silent, patient, sharpening itself, while you mistook his calm for indifference. Sigma males don't snap over ego bruises or petty drama. But if you insult their integrity or try to manipulate someone vulnerable in their presence, they won't sit still. They won't yell or get theatrical. They'll act with such cold precision that it shakes the room. They believe in protecting what's right, and when principles are at stake, they'll go to war without hesitation. Not for show, not for praise. Just because someone needed to stand up and no one else had the spine to do it. And if you try to play the victim afterward, thinking you'll guilt him into softness, good luck. Sigmas don't fall for crocodile tears. They've seen too much, studied too many people, and outgrown emotional manipulation. They won't respond with drama, they'll respond with consequences, clean, sharp, and irreversible. So while the world fights over being seen, liked, or noticed, Sigma males stay quiet in their corner until principle calls them out of the shadows. And when that moment comes, they don't fight for attention. They fight against anything that threatens what they stand for, and they fight to finish. Number 8, their boundaries aren't fences, they're electric fields. Sigma males don't advertise their boundaries. They don't write them on the wall, repeat them 10 times, or beg people to respect them. They just have them, quietly, confidently. And when you're on the right side of those boundaries, everything feels peaceful, like you've been granted access to a private world most never get to see. They'll be generous with their time, thoughtful with their presence, and patient with your flaws. But don't mistake that calm for open access, because their boundaries aren't simple lines, they're invisible systems, wired like electric fields. You won't know you've crossed one until it's too late. There's no alarm, no warning, no dramatic moment, just a subtle shift. They start responding with silence. Their energy pulls back, their eyes change, and soon enough, you realize you're not dealing with the same person anymore. You didn't just make a mistake, you triggered a protocol. And now you're being quietly removed from their life like you were never meant to be there in the first place. That's the thing with Sigmas. They don't explode when disrespected. They disconnect. And it's that disconnection that hits harder than any argument. Because you won't get a second chance. You won't get an explanation. You'll just feel the absence where their presence used to be. And the worst part, you won't even be able to trace the moment it all changed. Because while you were busy stepping over the line, they were already preparing the exit strategy. Their boundaries are rooted in self-respect, not fear. They don't set them to control others, they set them to protect their peace. And once you show that you can't be trusted near it, they don't negotiate, they eject you. Not emotionally, not with hate, just clinically. Like someone shutting down a system that detected a threat. No drama, no retaliation, just silence and a locked gate you never saw coming. So if you're close to a Sigma male, pay attention. He may not speak much about his limits, but that doesn't mean they're soft. In fact, the quieter they are about them, the more dangerous it is to cross them. Because when those electric fields activate, you don't just get shocked, you get erased. Number 9, they don't chase recognition because their purpose isn't performative. Sigma males move in silence, not because they're shy or mysterious for effect, but because they genuinely don't care if anyone's clapping. Their actions aren't calculated for applause. They do what's right because it feels right, even if no one ever notices. Their sense of nobility isn't something they perform for the crowd. It's hardwired. It's not about appearing virtuous. It's about living with a clean conscience. That's why they're the kind of men who'll do the right thing even in a room full of wrong, and then walk away without waiting for a thank you. But here's where things flip. When someone confuses that quiet integrity for weakness, or worse, tries to exploit it, that's when the switch flips, and it flips fast. Because while Sigma males are wired for peace, they're not programmed to tolerate betrayal, manipulation, or hypocrisy. They won't whine about it. They won't seek pity. They'll just drop the robe and pick up the blade, metaphorically, of course. The monk becomes a mercenary, and the man who once stood silently for good becomes terrifyingly efficient at tearing the lies apart. People often assume that someone who avoids the spotlight also avoids confrontation. That's the mistake. Sigma males aren't conflict averse, they're just conflict selective. But the moment their core principles are violated, when trust is broken, when values are mocked, when truth is twisted, they don't hesitate. They respond with calculated force. They don't lash out emotionally, they act with purpose, clean, sharp, decisive. And what makes it more unsettling is how unaffected they seem. There's no emotional outburst, no frantic energy, just pure precision. Because at that point, they're no longer trying to be noble. They're enforcing the very values someone thought they could violate without consequence. So while others perform goodness for validation, the Sigma male lives it like a code. And when that code is spit on, he doesn't cry, he recalibrates. And if you're the one that tried to use his integrity against him, you'll wish you never tested the man who does good by choice, but fights by instinct. Number 10, they know exactly what it took to build their inner peace. Sigma males didn't just stumble into peace, they fought for it. They clawed their way out of internal chaos, emotional warfare, and mental battles no one ever saw. They've sat with pain in silence, dissected their own flaws, and built their stability brick by brutal brick. So when they finally find calm, when their mind is still, their space is clean, their life is drama-free, it's not just a mood, it's a fortress, one they built alone, one they protect with everything they've got. So when someone comes along with their noise, games, manipulation, or emotional mess, the Sigma male doesn't flinch, he switches fast. Because it's not about the other person, it's about what that chaos represents. It threatens everything he had to survive to get here. He doesn't go back to fight for dominance. He fights to keep what nearly destroyed him to earn. And if you become a risk to that peace, you won't get a gentle warning, you'll get removed. Sigma males don't enjoy conflict. They're not built for drama or emotional turbulence. But push them too far, disrupt their space, or try to trap them back into the kind of mental hell they worked so hard to escape. And you'll meet a version of them that feels nothing like the calm exterior you once saw. That version doesn't argue, doesn't negotiate, it eliminates, efficiently, completely. And with zero apologies, they don't fight because they're aggressive, they fight because peace to them is sacred. And when you've nearly lost your mind trying to rebuild it, you don't let anyone, even someone you once loved, drag you back into the fire. That's the part people don't see. They confuse their calm for flexibility, but it's not flexibility, it's containment. It's a shield forged from everything they refuse to let break them. So when a Sigma male walks away without looking back, or cuts someone off without explaining, it's not ego, it's self-preservation. Because he knows exactly how much blood it took to build his peace. And he's not letting anyone, no matter how close, tear it down just because they don't understand what it cost. Number 11, they're the last ones to strike, but the last ones you'd ever want to strike first. Sigma males rarely strike first because they don't need to. They're not interested in petty battles, proving points, or flexing power just to feel seen. Their confidence is quiet, and their patience runs deep. You can insult them, underestimate them, or try to bait them, and most of the time they'll respond with silence, not reaction. Not because they're afraid, but because they're calculating, watching, measuring whether it's worth the energy. Most of the time it isn't, but there's always that one line, that sacred, invisible boundary that's not open for negotiation, usually tied to their integrity, their loyalty, or someone they protect. If you touch that line, mock it, cross it, spit on it, he doesn't react with rage. He reacts with precision, and the shift is immediate. The same man who was calm and collected becomes someone you no longer recognize, not because he turns wild, but because he becomes ruthless. There's no yelling, no dramatic showdown, no warning shot. What you get instead is a silent execution. His energy gets cold, the doors close, the connection dies, and he doesn't come back to revive it, ever. Because once you've disrespected the principle he lives by, there's nothing left to discuss. His mercy doesn't run on sympathy, it runs on respect. And if that's gone, so is everything else. And the worst part, you won't even see it coming. That's the danger of mistaking his patience for passivity. While you were busy testing his limits, he was quietly preparing your exit. And when it happens, you'll feel it. Not in drama, but in complete emotional deletion. You won't get the luxury of a fight. You'll get locked out of his world so smoothly, it'll feel like you were never part of it to begin with. Sigma males are the last ones to strike for a reason. They don't waste time on meaningless fights. But if you ever trigger their final switch, you won't just regret it. You'll never get the chance to do it again. Because when his respect dies, so does your relevance. Or number 12, they don't flex muscles, they flex control until you mistake it for weakness. Sigma males aren't interested in showing off. They don't walk into a room needing to dominate, intimidate, or prove anything to anyone. While others puff their chests and chase attention, Sigmas sit back, silent and composed, radiating something far more powerful, control, Real disciplined control, the kind you only get from mastering your own emotions, your impulses, and your environment. It's not flashy, it's lethal in its stillness. That calm energy they carry, it's not because they lack fire, it's because they've already learned how to contain it. They've felt the rage, the chaos, the instinct to snap, and they've trained themselves to stay still. That restraint isn't softness, it's strength in its rawest, most dangerous form. It's like watching a storm held in place by pure willpower, but because it's not loud, people assume it's weakness. Big mistake. Because once that restraint breaks, it doesn't come out in sloppy anger, it comes out in precision. Sigma males don't lose control, they use control. And when they decide you've pushed too far, their response isn't loud, it's calculated. Suddenly the man you thought was passive becomes frighteningly focused, cold, efficient. You won't see rage, you'll see results. And you'll feel it in the way your access to him disappears, your influence fades, and your role in his world vanishes without a trace. People don't understand that what they were witnessing all along wasn't weakness, it was a warning, a display of power wrapped in quiet. The Sigma male doesn't need to throw punches or shout to make a point. His silence was the point. It was the proof that he could respond at any moment, but chose not to, until now. So when you push that calm too far, when you test him thinking he won't respond, what you actually do is unlock a side of him that no longer cares about being restrained. And that's when the regret kicks in, not because he got angry, but because he got serious. And seriousness with a Sigma male is never about revenge. It's about removal, final, clean, and done without a second glance. So here's the brutal beauty of it all. Sigma males are wired differently. They don't operate on attention, ego, or emotion-driven chaos. They walk through the world with a noble heart, always choosing peace first. But underneath that calm is a storm they've tamed, one that only rises when principle is violated, trust is betrayed, or someone mistakes their empathy for weakness. They don't look for war, but if war comes knocking, they don't blink. They end it. You're not dealing with someone who's passive. You're dealing with someone who's patient. Not someone who avoids conflict, but someone who doesn't waste it. Their love is deep, their loyalty is rare, and their silence? That's the sound of 1,000 battles they've already fought and survived alone. And if you're lucky enough to be inside their world, understand this. It's a privilege, not a playground. Because a Sigma male may forgive, but he never forgets. And when he's done with precision, not out of hate, but out of self-respect. His warrior spirit isn't loud, it's lethal in its quiet discipline. And his noble heart isn't for show, it's the reason he fights only when it truly matters. So the next time you meet a Sigma, don't mistake his calm for weakness or his kindness for access. You're not standing in front of a man who's afraid of chaos. You're standing in front of one who's already survived it and won't let anyone drag him back into it ever again. If this message hit home or opened your eyes to the depth of the Sigma mindset, don't just scroll past. Hit that subscribe button and become part of a community that values truth, strength, and raw self-mastery. Like the video if it sparked something in you, drop a comment to share your thoughts or experience and share it with someone who needs to understand the kind of energy a Sigma male truly brings. This isn't noise, it's clarity, and we're just getting started. Stay sharp, stay grounded, and I'll see you in the next one.